GM, GM. Sunday, the 25th of February, daily levels. So BTC had a nice Saturday reversal there. And if you remember the red path it drew out from the other day, saying that we just took out those lows, deeper wicks on some exchanges, but we did take that liquidity, didn't get all the way to 50. I have this theory that 50K is getting front ran, which seems to be holding up for now. And we're pretty well following that red path. We'll see how it goes, but it was quite an unusual move yesterday. First of all, obviously, you don't normally see Saturday moves that tend to have follow through, right? So Bitcoin was compressing all the way into Saturday morning, then pumped. Normally, you'd expect that to have fully retraced by now. It hasn't. So I think that there's probably a little bit of a decent chance that we can move up towards the range highs today or going into tomorrow. I think one of the paths that I talked about before was when you touch the 12, the daily EMA, like we did here, you typically make a new high off that. So prices dip down into that band. It's held. The liquidity there has supported it. We should go and touch the highs. Whether it touches and breaks higher or just rejects and falls back inside, not sure, but I would be pretty confident that we can go up that far. Obviously, if not, and we've just pushed up into this area, the plan is the exact same for Bitcoin. It has to just stay above 50. The longer it stays above 50, the higher the probability that we're going to go up. Because this so far is a nice impulsive move with a low volume, low volatility correction. A little bit of volatility here. We took out the highs, took out the lows, but other than that, it's really just compressing in a strong, in a tightening compression. And even on the 4 hour, we came back to the 50 and couldn't even reach towards the 100. So price is holding up really well here. And I think, outside of some major, whatever shift in the market, I think Bitcoin's going to consolidate here and then go higher. Ethereum's now leading for the first time in terms of volume. So it's just past Bitcoin in volume, but it's on a weekend, so that's obviously easier to do. I would expect Bitcoin to take over again as we go into tomorrow and into next week. But where are we at currently? Let's look at it with the funding in OI over the weekend. How much change has there been across the market since Friday's close? So Friday closed here, 23rd, around there. Right, that was roughly the end of the Friday session. And since then, we've seen a tick up of open interest across the alts. Right, little quick flush on Saturday morning. Then alts have added about 1 billion almost in OI. Funding rates were actually declining, and now they've just started to tick back up towards the end of the weekend. Bitcoin's open interest rising slightly, open and funding up slightly as well. So I would say mainly on alts, where you've seen a bunch of them push up towards the range highs, we could see some potential downside, but I don't know if there's like a whole lot of. You can see here, total 3 is just consolidating nicely above the highs here, and has held the 1221 all the way on the daily, right? Holding there well on the weekly, had held and retested. So, to me, I think it was last week I talked about this, what I expected from alts, and as a whole. So for total 3, I expected this, where it's up, but it's just choppy, and it's just grinding up, and there's no massive big breakout, no huge impulses, because funding rates have ticked up and OI. So there's a few reasons for that. It's not, like I say, like rising funding rates does not mean that there's a bunch of longs that have to get liquidated. It's not really like that. But it does mean that futures are at a premium to spot. So there can be several reasons for that. I think a big one that people are misunderstand is just the lack of spot available. So we'll just look at alts, but this absolutely applies as well to Bitcoin and Ethereum. The goal in here, right? The goal in this 2-year stretch is what? If you're a Bitcoin, sorry, if you're a crypto trader, crypto investor, The goal here from May until December, so 18 months or more, is to accumulate spot. Why? Because you believe crypto will come back and you believe it goes to new highs. So you want to get as much spot as you can here. And actually, let me draw this up again, because it's really misunderstood in terms of how people view funding rates, right? So let me see. Let's see there. Bullish buy dips. Absolutely. Bullish buy dips. 100% echo those comments I made a few weeks ago. So the goal is to buy all the spot alts. Yeah? That's the goal. That's what you're trying to do there. In this area, buy all the spot alts. And what are you planning to do? Well, you know where I'm going next. You're planning to sell all the spot alts. Yeah? At a higher price. Somewhere up there, above all-time high at some point. Yeah? So the reason I say this is because if you see super high funding rates like here and there after you've had all of this, and even here, like, yeah, that's concerning. But if you see super high funding rates in here or in here or there, which there was, right? There were periods in 2020 where funding rate got super high, like there as well. There's periods where it gets super high and then it gets flushed out. The difference is we are at the accumulation, breaking out of it, heading towards here, right? Whether we reach that or not is a different story, but that's the target. The rising funding rates at this point of the market is actually sometimes just a sign of not enough spot. If there's not enough spot on the market because it's all been taken, right? The spot markets have been sucked dry by the whales and they're holding it. And then a big player comes in and they want to buy fucking Chainlink, and they realize they go to the order books of spot and the order books are fucking empty and they can't fill a big order. They're going to go on perps where there's infinite liquidity and fill their order there. So you can have high funding and it not be bearish. That is actually a bullish sign. If the spot has been all taken off the markets here, and I fucking guarantee you that people who spent 18 months accumulating spot are not selling it here. So they've taken it off and it's sitting in wallets, it's sitting wherever, they're waiting for it to go at least a good bit higher. And so when people want to fill big orders and come in with liquidity, it's just not there. There is no liquidity there. There is no spot liquidity. So that is extremely bullish, right, in terms of the intent of the market. So don't stress too much about funding rates at this stage of the market cycle. It absolutely does mean, as you can see here, of course, anytime funding gets extreme, right, you're going to see the end of some move, like we saw here, especially on alts. We had extreme funding for prolonged periods, and each time it was right before a dip, and then right before a correction, and then right before the big altcoin wipeout over here, right? Persistently high funding will lead to some kind of pullbacks, corrections, dips, but it doesn't have to lead to new lows or for everything to crash or go to zero. It only has to go down until that little bit of froth gets taken out of the market, and then it can reset. Then the spot buyers tend to step back in, and then we go again. So that's something to keep note of as well. And outside of that, the rest of the stuff I'll talk about it on Weekly Outlook today, which will be at 5 p.m. UTC, the live stream. So join me then. GM, GM, GM.